Over the past week, I was given the opportunity to drive the brand new third generation Ford F150 Raptor. And to give you a little bit of background, not only am I going to go ahead and review this Raptor, but I actually currently still own my second gen Raptor. So the transition from the second gen to the third was very interesting. And so in today's video, I'm going to go ahead and just make a review video of my opinions from my previous ownership, well, my current ownership with my second gen Raptor, and talk about its improvements compared to the third generation that's now available, and so much more. So let's go ahead and get started. So the powertrain between these two Raptors are the same, believe it or not. It's still using the same 3.5 liter EcoBoost V6 paired with a 10-speed transmission. It's a high output boosted twin turbocharged V6. So even though it's a 6-cylinder, this thing is insanely powerful. Its horsepower is rated to be 450 and have 510 pound-foot of torque. Now my F-150 Raptor is the 802A package, which means it's fully loaded to the most part, other than it doesn't have the carbon fiber trim, but it does have the panoramic moonroof. The new third gen that Ford lent me is the 801A package, but does indeed have the 37-inch wheel option. Now I'll talk more about its handling and performance in just a little bit. Now from the exterior point of view, both of these trucks look beefy, as it's really easy to identify a Raptor compared to the standard F-150. From the aggressive Ford logo in the front, uniquely designed for the Raptors, all the way up to its aggressive fender flares that it has on its sides. The headlights on the third generation Raptor has been improved, that these are actually projector headlights, while with the older generation Raptor, they were just typical LED headlights. Driving them night and day, it's very obvious the third generation is slightly brighter. The projector beam really does allow things to focus, but both of these trucks always had adapted high beams. So if the road does get really dark, high beams will automatically kick in and solve and eliminate that visibility issue when driving at night. Now both of these trucks do have fog lamps. The third generation now have these rugged options straight from the factory, and they do include little caps so you can use them legally on the road. Meanwhile, with my personal Raptor, I went ahead and installed a third-party one. This is by Baja Design. These get insanely bright, brighter than the OEM ones that the third generation has. But nonetheless, this was my issue to actually give myself functional fog lamps when needed during those dark off-road trails. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and cover all my third-party accessories that I have on my personal Raptor, but if you want to find out more, I actually made a dedicated video which you can go ahead and watch there. Now, both of these trucks are insanely wide and pretty tall, but to my surprise, I'm able to fit both the second and even the third generation Raptor in my garage just fine. Even with the 35-inch wheels on the third generation Raptor, it had enough clearance to actually go inside a normal height garage. Lengthwise, this may vary depending on house to house, but I was able to fit both of these trucks in my garage just fine. Now, the first thing I noticed was the new third generation Raptor is how loud it is, especially on startup. Now, suspension from the second to the third generation, it's true. The leaf spring suspension on the second generation is gone on the third generation. It got replaced with coils, which I really do appreciate. I immediately noticed the handling differences between the second generation and the third generation. It's a lot more confident and feels less like a truck, believe it or not, especially when it comes to making turns. And it also increased the payload capacity as well, compared to the older generation Raptor. As compared to the second generation, it's now able to tow this much more. Now, B-lock wheels is available on the second and the third generations. My truck originally came with beadlocks, but they're both 17-inch wheels. But this one on the third generation is unique to the 37-inch wheel option. But with the larger wheels, the MPG does indeed suffer. With my 35-inch wheels on my second gen, I'm able to get anywhere between 15 miles per gallon combined. Where with the 37s, I was averaging around the 13 miles MPG. That's me actually trying to drive eco-friendly. Continuing on with the exterior, I'll be glad to inform you that you still have the pin access on both of these trucks, which means you could actually leave your vehicle keys inside and use the pin code to unlock your car in case you forget your keys inside, or you're going out to the beach and you don't want to travel with your keys in case you lose them or something like that. But both have the Ford app, which allows you to actually use your mobile device and log in and create an account to unlock or remote start your truck this way as well. Now, a key fob, believe it or not, both the second generation Raptor, as long as it's 18 or newer, is using the same key fob even on the third generation Raptor, which means you still have the access, the ability to remote start And you also have the tailgate release. But in my opinion, this key is kind of bulky. I wish Ford actually slimmed this key fob a little bit more, but it's nice that it actually has its own Raptor logo on the back here. And yes, you can valet this as well. The bed liner can be sprayed from the factory, as you can tell by the little sticker back here in the rear window. Just however, on the new Raptor, there's an option to actually have a household outlet back here, as it does indeed have a onboard power generator. The second generation also has this, but it's only inside a cabinet, not in the bed. But what they both do have is the LED button right here, which will actually illuminate the bed. So if you're working at night, you can see what you're doing. The side view mirrors on both of these trucks actually do have LED lights that can be used as a flashlight. So when you're working at night, you can illuminate the sides even brighter. This can be accessed literally right underneath the headlight switch. You just look for the mirrors and you can toggle them like so. The suspension is slightly wider, which means it's able to carry more oily fluids, which also can be the reason why it handles much better compared to the second generation Raptor, in my opinion. Now inside the truck, honestly, both of these trucks feature a extremely modern interior, even the second generation Raptor, in my opinion. But unique features that the third generation has over the second gen is not only is it using much more finer feeling materials, like the quality and such actually feels firm, but it has the unique folding shift knob mechanism, which actually can fold down into a table. So if you need a mobile office, this actually will fold flat so you can rest your laptop, write notes and such. You still have your household outlet access right here on both the second and third generation, as well as the traditional 12 volt if needed. Ventilated seats, heated seats are available on both of these trucks as well. You got quick access to camera controls up here, as both of these trucks do actually have full 360 cameras. Just however, a thing that I noticed from the second and the third generation, the second generation, the camera is actually fixed on the bottom here, bottom side right here on the side view mirrors. Where with the third generation, if you fold your mirrors in, it actually alters the camera view. Unfortunately, I wish it was fixed on the mirror, so even when it was folded, it could still be operational like it did on the second generation. I guess that's a little con that I noticed. But the 360 cameras do an excellent job, especially when it comes to parking in a very compact, small environment. Just however, the third generation Raptor does have more cameras than the second generation, as you have one for the tailgate and you have one for your bed. Now, another thing I like about the third generation Raptor is the glove box. Actually, it's a dual glove box. No longer do you have an awkward gap right here to just rest some stuff here and there. Some people utilize this to be a pizza tray holder. That's not really its intended purpose, but people were doing that with the second generation, including the Raptor, like you see here. With the third generation, they finally fixed this and actually gave us a functional additional storage compartment, which you have access to it right here for some reason. You don't push on it directly, you push this button, but nonetheless, it works. Mode selectors are accessible on the second generation on the steering wheel. Where was the new one? It's actually accessible right here with this little knob, and you have a lot of modes to select from. And each mode has a different animation as well as its own theme. But if you like to personalize some of these modes, like say for example you might like to drive it normally but like to have the sport roadie exhaust, it's fully customizable here as well. You can find the settings right here on the steering wheel. You could adjust the steering, the suspension dampening, and the valves for the exhaust if you like. But with the second generation, you have access to this, just you don't have access to the valve nor the active suspension, just the steering. Heated steering wheel is available on the third generation. It was optional on the second. Mine doesn't have this, unfortunately. It was an option, but third generation you can locate it right here. Dual climate control is again once more available. Now both have an excellent sound system. It's BMOs for the third generation. Mine is the 17, so it's still using the Sony system. But a cool thing about the new BMOs sound system in the third generation Raptor is there's more speakers located everywhere, including the ceiling. But you'll be happy to know that even the headrest actually has a speaker, and yeah, the sound system sounds fantastic. You still have access to the aux switches on top, keeping it Raptor tradition. And being a Raptor, you do have the aux switches right here. We can actually enable or add more devices to it, like a winch, more lights and such. The rear gauge lights are actually toggled by this, so it's not the little fog lamp icon right here. It's actually one of these aux cable, the first and second, which is interesting because that's basically how I wired my Baja design lights on my personal Raptor as well this way, with the aux 1. Now other improvements that I noticed from the second and third generation is there's no longer this massive bulky camera unit. It's all slimmed down now on the third generation, which is quite nice. This was typically where you'll find all the hardware for like the lane keep assist, the forward collision warning, and such, which the second generation does indeed have. This has adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist. But with the third generation, it's been significantly improved, as now actually supports the Ford Co-Pilot, which works surprisingly okay for straightaways on the highway. But if it involves a lot of turn, you will actually need to manually steer. It's kind of like Tesla's system where you have to actually place your hand on the wheel. Now, in terms of tech, unique technology that the third generation has over the second is when you approach the vehicle, it'll actually welcome you as it will illuminate the lights and such. It does have smart door handles, which means you can just put your hand on the door handle and pull, it will unlock, and tap this little button, it will unlock all the doors. The second generation Raptor also has this, just the second generation is more responsive compared to the third generation. Just something interesting I wanted to note. Now the tailgate, both the second and third generation Raptor have the tailgate easy access. My truck, unfortunately, didn't opt for this option, but it's available for the second generation. Just with the third generation, it actually self-closes. So as soon as you start raising it up, it will automatically engage the electronic engine, motors, and it will actually close the tailgate for you. And then fun stuff in the tailgate is also you have access to measurements here. The third generation Raptor also has a hotspot, which is quite nice. Second generation, mine in particular, doesn't have this. Wireless Apple CarPlay / Android Auto is also available on this nice infotainment system. And this infotainment system actually has some awesome, unique features. As a fine example, you could actually run like Apple Maps wirelessly, leave your phone charging on the wireless G charger, which it does have. And on the side here, you have access to some shortcuts like your music, even your backup camera and such. It will display on this part of the screen. Now, interior wise, other similarities is that the second generation Raptor does indeed have paddle shifters, which was the first pickup trucks to ever have paddle shifters on the wheel. They're both made out of metal and they feel nice to touch. And they're also very massive. Other key features is all the vents, including these side vents you see here, are all fully functional, which is quite nice. Now, if you're debating between the 35s and the 37s, the quick summary is basically this. The 37s will offer much more traction no matter the terrain compared to the 35s. There's much less wheel travel with the 37s compared to the 35s. And when you get the 37s, bead locks is the only option for the third gen. Where with the 35s, you have the option to go with the non-bead lock or bead lock. And then of course with the 37s, you have more sidewall, so it will handle abuse much better compared to the 35s, of course. And then in terms of MPG differences, there's a massive MPG difference. Well, just by 2 miles per gallon, to be honest. With my 35, with my second generation Raptor, I'm able to average about 15 miles per gallon combined. With the 37s on the third gen, I'm averaging close to 13. Now, driving both pickup trucks, my overall conclusion is this. The second generation Raptor actually rides rough. My transmission shifts really roughly. This was a common thing about the second generation Raptor. They resolved that and fixed all that in the third generation. It actually shifts really nice and smooth now. And then even with the massive 37-inch wheels, the handling actually does handle much better than the second generation, even with mine that are on 35s. I feel more confident taking sharp turns in the new third generation Raptor compared to my second generation Raptor. And road noise is much quieter in this third generation as well. As Ford, I noticed, actually gave it more plastic around the door trim, as you see right here, compared to the second generation. So it's a much more quieter ride. Now, other noticeable differences in the exterior point of view, especially from the back, is that they actually moved the marker on the bed right here on the second generation Raptor. On the third, it's now located on the fenders, and it's much wider if you notice. This is all personal preference. I prefer the little dots. Kind of made things look more aggressive, especially at night. But nonetheless, it still is very obvious that it's a Raptor, especially at night with those orange markers. So all in all, the second generation compared to the third generation drives much more smoothly compared to the second gen and sounds absolutely amazing, especially with that trombone loop exhaust. Ford did an excellent job in giving this truck its own unique exhaust note. And while I was making this video, I found out if you leave the vehicle in drive and you shut off the engine, it'll put itself to park. Thought that was really neat. So there you guys have it. That is the comparison of the second generation against the third generation Ford F-150 Raptor. If you guys got some good useful information out of the video, you know what to do. Greatly appreciate if you actually leave this video a like, as well as get subscribed, especially if you enjoy a lot of videos just like this. I cover everything from tech to vehicles in these type of comparison videos. As a fine example, if you'd like to see more, check out this video over here as I review a BMW X4 M competition. And in that video over there, that is a video that YouTube algorithm is recommending specifically for you. Feel free to watch either or. Again, thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you all in the next one. See ya.